Cacik or tzatziki is probably one of the simplest and most delicious dips you'll ever eat. It's a perfect blend of creamy yogurt, cooling cucumber and fragrant herbs that can be put together in a few minutes. Once you've seen how simple it is to assemble and how much better tasting it is when homemade, you'll never buy the store-bought stuff again. And if that wasn't reason enough to watch the video, we'll be jazzing up some bread for the ultimate dipping tool. Hey everyone, I'm Obi, a home cook who wants to get you cooking authentic and delicious Middle Eastern food at home. If you frequent Turkish restaurants as much as me, you've probably consumed tons of cacik with every meal. It goes perfect with grilled meats or vegetables, and it's a great way to jazz up a home-cooked meal with a delicious sauce. Today I'm going to show you how to make cacik with ingredients you probably have at home already, and I'll also show you how to take regular flatbread and turn it into the best ever food for dipping. Before we get started, there are two distinct kinds of Turkish cacik out there, so it's worth clarifying what we are making. The first one is a thick dip that's made with yogurt and cucumber and is what you usually find at Turkish restaurants. The second one is a thin and runny yogurt with cucumber, which is sometimes described as a cold cucumber soup. We're making the first kind, but if you want to make the second kind, all you need to do is stir some water into your yogurt before adding the rest of the ingredients. Now this recipe will take you no more than 5 minutes to put together, and we'll start by preparing the cucumbers. For one large portion of cacik, you'll need about half of an English cucumber. I find that they can be quite watery inside, and I prefer the flavour of small salad cucumbers instead, so if you're using these, you'll need 2 of them. To prepare the cucumbers, you can either dice them very finely into small cubes, or you can grate them like I do. Once you've removed the top and tail, use a box grater to shred them. I've placed a paper towel under my grater to catch excess water coming out of the cucumbers, and to make it easier to move it once shredded. I'm shredding the cucumbers on the large side of the grater. If you shred them on the smaller side, your final texture will be less chunky, so do it whichever way you prefer. When done grating both cucumbers, I was left with a pile like this. It's full of water that we don't want in the final dish, so we'll have to squeeze it out. Here the paper towel also helps, as it will act as a makeshift cheesecloth and allow us to squeeze the liquid out of the cucumber. If your paper towels aren't strong enough, use a fine mesh sieve instead. Squeeze as much liquid out of the cucumbers as you can and then set them aside. Speaking of liquids, we'll be adding in some lemon juice to up the acidity of our cacik. We'll need 4 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice here, as the bottled stuff is way too acidic, which works out to about 1 large lemon's worth. For the herbs in this, the key one is mint, but I also add dill, which is included in about half of the Turkish recipes I've seen. I think that it really balances out the sharpness of the mint and adds a light herbiness to the cacik, but it is entirely optional. Just pull the dill leaves off of the stems and then use a knife to mince them very finely. You'll need about 1 tablespoon of freshly minced dill here if you choose to add it. Once that's ready, we can start combining the ingredients for the cacik, and I've started by placing the grated cucumber into a mixing bowl. To that we'll be adding 500 grams or 1 pound of thick Greek or Turkish yoghurt. It's a yoghurt with a fluffy texture that's made by taking regular yoghurt and straining the water out of it. For seasoning, add in half of a teaspoon of salt to the bowl. Next we'll add in the main flavouring, 2 teaspoons of dried mint. You can use minced fresh mint here instead, but the dried mint has a milder flavour that works better. Follow the mint up with 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and then add in the tablespoon of freshly minced dill if you are using it. Lastly, we'll add in the 4 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice and a minced garlic clove. I of course forgot to add the garlic, and now all you need to do is mix everything together vigorously until everything is well combined. It's at this point that you should remember to add the minced garlic you forgot, and then mix it once more. Here's what your cacik should look like once everything has been incorporated. The mixture should be thick and creamy, with cucumber evenly worked into it and the herbs well distributed. Like most dips, I think the sign of a good cacik is the scientific plop test. If you let some cacik fall back into the bowl from a spoon, it should make an audible plop sound. That's a sign you've got the texture right. Now I believe there's no point having an amazing dip if you don't have something good to dip into it with. One of the things that Turkish restaurants in London do is they serve a seasoned flatbread. This is just their regular flatbread which they coat in a thin layer of spices and herbs before grilling. It really takes the bread to the next level and it serves as the perfect tool for eating cacik. Now to make this I've got some Turkish pide bread which I got from my grocery store. You can use pittas or any other flatbread in its place, but make sure to use something with a little thickness. If you think I should cover pide in a future video, then let me know in the comments down below. To make the coating for the bread, we'll combine a few seasonings in a bowl. First we'll start with 1 teaspoon of pul biber, or as it's commonly known, Aleppo pepper flakes. Next we'll add in half a teaspoon of oregano and half of a teaspoon of sumac. Then we'll add in 1/4 teaspoon of paprika and follow that up with 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Finally you'll add in 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil before mixing it all together into a uniform mixture. Yours should look like this when done, and just so you know, this stuff is a great marinade for chicken, just scale it up a couple of times. Now all you need to do is apply the mixture to your bread and spread it out evenly. The amount of mixture I made is good for half of this bread or for 2 large pita breads. I doubled my mixture so I could cover both pieces. Once I had spread a thin layer on each piece, here's what they looked like. Transfer them onto a baking sheet and place them under the grill in your oven for about 3 to 5 minutes until the oil is bubbling hot and the topping mixture has dried up. When that happens, remove them from the oven and allow them to cool for a minute. Here's what mine looked like when I pulled them out. Once they're cool enough to handle, slice them into individual pieces. To plate the cacik, just place it in a bowl, make a small well in the centre and add in some olive oil. Sprinkle over some sumac or pul biber and serve it alongside your toasty bread. If you're looking at this and thinking, damn that looks good, well you deserve a gold star, because it is. This is one of the simplest and most delicious snacks that you could put together in less than 5 minutes, and I don't think anyone would complain if you served it. Now let's jump right to the taste test. I'm going to steal a saying from the great Babish and say that this one joined the Clean Plate Club. This stuff is legit. It easily matches the best caciks I've had in any Turkish restaurant, and trust me when I say I've had a lot of cacik. The cooling flavour you get from the cucumbers, mint and yoghurt is just perfect for a kebab or grilled dish. In terms of the seasoned bread, it's just miles better than the plain one. You get heat, herbs and sourness from the spice mix, and once combined with the cacik, it's the perfect mouthful of food. I think this is a must-have sauce for any barbecue, and the perfect dip for snacking in front of the TV. I hope you give this one a try soon and let me know how it turns out. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like or comment and share it with your friends. And if you make this, be sure to send me some photos. As usual, the full recipe is in the description box below, and I'll be back next week with another recipe.